Me no know about you, but me don't think it's bad.
Be Saint, Kid Strong, and mask up.
I wear my mask to protect my beloved citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I invite you to do so too.
Show your love for St. Kitts Nevis and wear a mask.
Keep St. Kitts strong and mask up when you step out.
I wear a face mask for all the nurses, doctors, and other medical workers who are on the front line.
Do the right thing and wear a mask.
Show the world that we are St. Kitts strong and wear a mask.
I wear a mask so that St. Kitts Nevis remains a safe and healthy destination for me, for you, and our visitors alike.
Say St. Kitts sweet. Me no know about you, but me love St. Kitts bad.
Welcome back to St. Kitts. The health and safety of both our residents and our visitors remains our #1 priority. Please ensure that you put on your face. Stay in your lane. Practice social distancing. Hanitize. Wash or sanitize your hands every 30 minutes. And follow established health and safety protocols on all island tours. Report COVID-19 symptoms to any government official or your hotel manager. You can call the Emergency Health Hotline at 311. We look forward to welcoming familiar faces and to introducing St. Kitts to those who may not have visited before.
The rebuilding of tourism starts with taking the vaccine.
I'm taking the vaccine for a healthy nation.
I for sure will be taking the vaccine.
I am taking the vaccine because it's the best way to get back into full swing. Stay safe.
I'm taking the vaccine for my family, for my friends, for my community, and for me.
Me no know about you, but me don't think it's bad.
Be Saint, Kid Strong, and mask up.
I wear my mask to protect my beloved citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I invite you to do so too.
Show your love for St. Kitts Nevis and wear a mask.
Keep St. Kitts strong and mask up when you step out.
I wear a face mask for all the nurses, doctors, and other medical workers who are on the front line.
Do the right thing and wear a mask.
Show the world that we are St. Kitts strong and wear a mask.
I wear a mask so that St. Kitts Nevis remains a safe and healthy destination for me, for you, and our visitors alike.
Say St. Kitts sweet. Me no know about you, but me love St. Kitts bad.
Welcome back to St. Kitts. The health and safety of both our residents and our visitors remains our #1 priority. Please ensure that you put on your face. Stay in your lane. Practice social distancing. Hanitize. Wash or sanitize your hands every 30 minutes. And follow established health and safety protocols on all island tours. Report COVID-19 symptoms to any government official or your hotel manager. you can call the Emergency Health Hotline at 311. We look forward to welcoming familiar faces and to introducing St. Kitts to those who may not have visited before.
The rebuilding of tourism starts with taking the vaccine.
I'm taking the vaccine for a healthy nation.
I for sure will be taking the vaccine.
I am taking the vaccine because it's the best way to get back into full swing. Stay safe.
I've taken the vaccine for my family, for my friends, for my community, and for me.
Me no know about you, but me don't think it's bad.
Be St. Kitts strong and mask up.
I wear my mask to protect my beloved citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I invite you to do so too.
Show your love for St. Kitts Nevis and wear a mask.
Keep St. Kitts strong and mask up when you step out.
I wear a face mask for all the nurses, doctors, and other medical workers who are on the front line.
Do the right thing and wear a mask.
Show the world that we are St. Kitts strong and wear a mask.
I wear a mask so that St. Kitts Nevis remains a safe and healthy destination for me, for you, and our visitors alike.
Say St. Kitts sweet. Me no know about you, but me love St. Kitts bad.
Welcome back to St. Kitts. The health and safety of both our residents and our visitors remains our #1 priority. Please ensure that you put on your face. Stay in your lane. Practice social distancing. Hanitize. Wash or sanitize your hands every 30 minutes. And follow established health and safety protocols on all island tours. Report COVID-19 symptoms to any government official or your hotel manager. You can call the Emergency Health Hotline at 311. We look forward to welcoming familiar faces and to introducing St. Kitts to those who may not have visited before.
The rebuilding of tourism starts with taking the vaccine.
I'm taking the vaccine for a healthy nation.
I for sure will be taking the vaccine.
I am taking the vaccine because it's the best way to get back into full swing. Stay safe.
I've taken the vaccine for my family, for my friends, for my community, and for me.
Me no know about you, but me don't think it's bad.
Be St. Kitts strong and mask up.
I wear my mask to protect my beloved citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I invite you to do so too.
Show your love for St. Kitts Nevis and wear a mask.
Keep St. Kitts strong and mask up when you step out.
I wear a face mask for all the nurses, doctors, and other medical workers who are on the front line.
Do the right thing and wear a mask.
Show the world that we are St. Kitts strong and wear a mask.
I wear a mask so that St. Kitts Nevis remains a safe and healthy destination for me, for you, and our visitors alike.
Say St. Kitts sweet. Me no know about you, but me love St. Kitts bad.
Welcome back to St. Kitts. The health and safety of both our residents and our visitors remains our #1 priority. Please ensure that you put on your face. Stay in your lane. Practice social distancing. Hanitize. Wash or sanitize your hands every 30 minutes. And follow established health and safety protocols on all island tours. Report COVID-19 symptoms to any government official or your hotel manager. You can call the Emergency Health Hotline at 311. We look forward to welcoming familiar faces and to introducing St. Kitts to those who may not have visited before.
The rebuilding of tourism starts with taking the vaccine.
I'm taking the vaccine for a healthy nation.
I for sure will be taking the vaccine.
I am taking the vaccine because it's the best way to get back into full swing. Stay safe.
I've taken the vaccine for my family, for my friends, for my community, and for me.
Me no know about you, but me don't think it's bad.
Be St. Kitts strong and mask up.
I wear my mask to protect my beloved citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I invite you to do so too.
Show your love for St. Kitts Nevis and wear a mask.
Keep St. Kitts strong and mask up when you step out.
I wear a face mask for all the nurses, doctors, and other medical workers who are on the front line.
Do the right thing and wear a mask.
Show the world that we are St. Kitts strong and wear a mask.
I wear a mask so that St. Kitts Nevis remains a safe and healthy destination for me, for you, and our visitors alike.
Say think it's sweet. Me no know about you, but me don't think it's bad.
Welcome back to St. Kitts. The health and safety of both our residents and our visitors remains our #1 priority. Please ensure that you put on your face.
Good morning. Mrs. Carleen Henry Morton, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, Transport and Ports. Mr. Nicholas Menon, Chairman of the Board of Directors, St. Kitts Tourism Authority. Mr. Damian Hobson, Chairman of the Board of Directors for SCASPA. Mr. Keithley Phillip, CEO for SCASPA. Ms. Cindy Deming-Neas, CEO for UDC. Ladies and gentlemen, our media, good morning. I would like to thank you and give special appreciation to our stakeholders for joining us this morning. My name is Raquel Brown, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer and will be the moderator for our morning's proceedings. The press conference today is one in several installments that we have promised, and Minister Grant has promised to give updates on, well, to the public on the rebuilding of the cruise sector. We have a phased approach for the reopening of cruise, and we have seen so far the welcoming of the Seabourn Odyssey in July and the Celebrity Equinox in September. Minister Grant will continue to have these press updates, these press conferences, to give an overview of what the destination is doing as we move forward in our phased approach. At this point in time, I would like to welcome Minister Grant.
A pleasant good morning. Mrs. Carleen Henry Morton, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, Transport and Ports. Mr. Nicholas Menon, Chairman of the Board of Directors of the SKTA. Mr. Damian Hobson, Chairman of the Board of Directors of SCASPA. Ms. Raquel Brown, CEO of the St. Kitts Tourism Authority. Mr. Keithley Phillip, CEO of SCASPA. Ms. Cindy Deming-Neas, CEO of the UDC. Specially invited guests, members of the media, a pleasant good morning. I would first of all like to thank all the stakeholders and members of the media for joining us this morning. I promised on the 6th of August that I will continually update the media and the public on the progress of the rebuilding of the cruise sector. And today is another installment in the fulfillment of this promise, as I did on the 6th of September 2021. Over the past few months, we have seen several changes in the cruise sector, with the protocols evolving, cruise routes changing, and shifts in home ports as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Discussions with many of our cruise line partners have revealed that destinations are not the only ones who have struggled since the COVID-19. In 2020, Carnival Corporation, for example, and Holland America, Carnival Seabourn and the Princess, the largest cruise line conglomerates, reported a $4.3 billion loss and have been forced to downsize and to dispose of some 23 vessels to date. These actions have serious implications for the Caribbean destinations. For example, Carnival Cruise Lines, the red tail ship for many years, was a staple in the Caribbean. The Carnival Fantasy, that class is no longer a part of the Carnival fleet of ships. The Carnival Fascination, which was our weekly ship, is no more. The Carnival Fascination as well was responsible pre-COVID for 52 calls each year. I have said it consistently, but more now than ever, it is clear that while cruising will rebound, worldwide cruising will take some time before it returns. And so we are in our rebuilding process. While the future remains uncertain as the pandemic continues, we are not discouraged, but rather we continue to work with the cruise lines to identify strategies to safely rebuild the sector in a sustainable manner. Our start, as a result of the health situation on the island in June, resulted in us being unable to resume cruises, and hence we went to the discussion table very, very late. We welcomed our first cruise line in July of 2022, July the 22nd. And rather than having our test calls during the summer months, we are having them now at the end of summer. And we anticipate a ramping up of all those calls for the winter beginning in November. The cruising landscape has dramatically changed. And as a result of the pandemic, cruise lines calls are no longer just turnkey, where it is automatic that the ships will just come. We have to negotiate and negotiate and negotiate based on several key touch points, which include vaccination, testing, protocols, and shore excursion experiences. Just this week, we had a cruise line partner requesting that tour operators who will be directly in contact with their cruise visitors be tested 24 hours prior to the arrival of the ship. Yes, you heard it right. A cruise line partner for the winter season, requiring for our local tour operators that they be tested. One other partner has indicated that they will be testing their passengers every single day using a PCR test, safety being always their number one priority. And since the resumption of cruise on July the 22nd, we have had 12 calls from the Seabourn Odyssey with 1,151 passengers, and 2 calls from the Celebrity, bringing 2,623 passengers, a total of 3,774 passengers for the period from July the 22nd to October the 5th. Many of us would recall that this number is what we normally would have received from just one vessel. This is our present reality. And it is not unique to us as a destination. Many other Caribbean islands are faced with the awesome responsibility of managing the cruise sector during the COVID-19 by balancing lives and livelihoods. I know and understand that many individuals may feel disenfranchised by the cautious and the safety and steady approach through our offerings of fully vaccinated travel-approved tours. However, I want to reiterate the fact that this is not our intention, nor is it our aim to disenfranchise anyone. We have always said that cruise will return in phases. The fully vaccinated traveler and travel-approved tours are not in place to keep out the small man, as some may think. They are there to promote safety. I know that this is not easy, but we beg your patience as we continue with our successes. We will continue to expand our offerings. The question before us is, how do we do it safely? Earlier this morning, I met with the independent tour operators who offer online bookings, and they have been charged with assisting us by identifying a compliance strategy to support their tours. This is critical as we are still experiencing increases in COVID-19 cases. We must ensure that we do not have any breaches that will result in increased cases as a result of cruise. Furthermore, we do not want a situation where a cruise line experiences an outbreak and as a result of coming to St. Kitts. All it takes is one case or an outbreak in cruise to shut down that sector, which we certainly do not want. We must work together to avoid this. As we increase in cruise passenger arrivals, the diversity of our tours provided by cruise ships, pre-booked and independently sold online tours are critical to our success. For the cruise-booked shore excursions, cruise lines take full responsibility for their tours and ensure the compliance with their own tour guides. However, for online pre-booked tours, we have to find a way to offer that same level of compliance to ensure that we limit the liability for the cruise lines, which would result in a loss of confidence by our cruise line partners. I know you are anxious to get back to work, and we get that. But we must continue with a plan that balances safety and economics. We are still taking a phased approach to rebuilding tourism, and all care must be taken to protect our people. I have no preference over one stakeholder over the other. My team at the Ministry of Tourism and the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, we remain unbiased in this regard. Our intention is to work closely with the COVID-19 Task Force and the Ministry of Health to get everyone back to work by making the cruise sector even more resilient so that your businesses can survive and you can provide for your families. It would be irresponsible of us to open up completely and put our people at great risk. The message today is very, very simple. Let us work together for better days ahead. Last week, I met with several cruise lines while at Sea Trade Global to discuss their return to St. Kitts. These meetings gave me a greater appreciation of the fact that protocols are key. Our European lines require different considerations as their vaccination requirements are in some cases different to that of the United States. The age of eligibility for the vaccine is 16 years of age, while in the United States it is 12. To date, several of our cruise line partners have submitted their protocols and proposals to support their return. Over the next few weeks, my team and I will continue our discussions with them to firm up these calls, and the St. Kitts Tourism Authority will advise all stakeholders of the cruise itinerary in short order. For the rest of October, we anticipate the following calls. The World Navigator, formerly Mystic Cruises, 23rd October 2021, berthing in St. Kitts. The vessel will then sail to Nevis on the 24th of October 2021. Viking Orion, 25th of October 2021. The Celebrity Equinox will not return for the rest of the month, but they will be back on the 7th of November 2021, when we anticipate an increase in our cruise traffic. We are expecting ships from both the American and European lines. In my next update, I promise to reveal much more about these European ships. In fact, we hope to have the cruise schedule finalized by the end of the month. Our aim is to ensure that we remain relevant as a cruise destination, as we find ourselves now in a position where, now more than ever, our success is dependent on other destinations. I want to thank you for your patience as we work through this process. Our strategy for a phased approach is necessary due to our restrictions. We are not turning away ships, but we must manage the on-island experience and expectation with the Ministry of Health and the COVID-19 Task Force. We will continue our consultations with our stakeholders and our partners, and we hope that by the next time that we meet for an update, we would have continued our positive strides in an upward trajectory. Thank you, and I will now take questions from the media.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Grant, and your panel. Glenn Bart from SK Newsline. Mr. Grant, there have been some complaints from taxi tour operators that we have received, indicating that although they have gone through the entire process, vaccination and taking care of their vehicles and so forth, they have not been able to get jobs. They complain that only certain people appear to be getting those jobs. What is the situation with regards to that? Because I remember some time ago, I think it's over at the Marriott, I heard to talk about rotation of work.
About
rotation of work. Can you comment on that, please?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. What I will indicate is that we have trained in excess of 5,000 persons in the industry since the onset of the COVID-19. We have always said that we are approaching the restart of the cruise industry in a very phased manner. And so we began in a phased approach. So that as it stands today, we have been able to approve certain businesses and certain tours. So for example, we have approved Brimstone Hill as a part of a bubble tour. We've approved Caribel Boutique. We've approved the Scenic Railway. We've approved the taxi and tours to do the island tour as well as the panoramic tour. We have recently opened up the catamaran cruises, so those businesses can be able to function. Some businesses, because of the protocols, we have not yet opened up. For example, we have not opened up the ATV tours. So the persons who are in the ATV business, that has yet to be approved. In fact, just this morning, before we started this press conference, we met with them at 9 o'clock this morning. trying to find a common ground between those stakeholders to get back to start their businesses. We have not yet approved the open air safaris because that has not yet been approved by the Ministry of Health and the task force. So we are getting there. So I don't know the specifics of the persons who are complaining, but I am certain that those persons who are complaining at the moment, it is because those tours have not yet been approved and opened up. For example, Annie's tour, which is a walking tour, that has not been approved because that, by its very nature, means that the persons will have to come into Bastille to be in contact with the community at large, and we are not ready for that. So as we progress and as we see our successes, then we continue to open up tours and make them more available. I should tell you, we are as concerned as the stakeholders themselves, because we need also capacity, meaning we have to have a wide variety of tours in order to take the larger ships, like the Allure and Freedom of the Seas and those Oasis-class ships. So we also are concerned that we need to find a way to open up those tours, while at the same time making sure we keep the nation healthy and safe. So I believe that on the other occasion when I might grace the presence of another press conference, we might be further on our way to opening up more tours for the visitors. Hope that answers the question.
If I could also add for Minister Grant, it's also important to know that in terms of compliance, there is a responsibility for all tour operators. And for the vessels that are doing Shore X, the cruise line ensures that there are tour guides that go with each bus for those tours that are happening. For those that we have started with the St. Kitts Tourism Authority that are dispatched for island tours and panoramic, we provide 2 compliance officers, the St. Kitts Tourism Authority. So there are tours, if we are going to ensure for safety for both our sake and also for the cruise line, because it works on both ends, we have to ensure that visitors are not allowed just to come off. So we also have to be working, which is why we had a meeting earlier with tour operators who do pre-booked online, which includes open air, ATVs. How can we find a solution to help in terms of compliance, because we have to ensure until we are open, how do we ensure that there's safety for both the cruise passengers and also for the destination, that we're monitoring passengers and tour operators.
Good morning, all. German Abel SKN 5. I want to start off where the last question was. Realistically, okay, kind of lost my train of thought. But when let's look at the cruise and the expectations from the cruise lines and the requests that they're making at this moment. How realistic is it that most, if not all, of these expectations are going to be met? Being realistic, if you're going to say to the taxi operators that, hey, you need to get tested 24 hours before a cruise ship arrives, as one of the requests is, how realistic is that you can get the buy-in from those taxi operators and tour operators that this is something that is actually going to be met? And my second question...
Let me answer that first question. I want to make it very clear that that scenario does not reflect in all of the cruise lines. It is only one particular cruise line and maybe another who are requesting that 24-hour testing prior to their arrival. So it does not go across the board. That's in the first instance. So please be very clear on that. The second thing is that we've had discussions with the stakeholders even this morning in terms of that measure. And they are not particularly averse to having the testing done. So we have been able to get I would say, a partial buy-in from them in terms of how we would proceed with that. Obviously, we said to them, we'll come back to them next week. I think we told them, after we've gone back to the team and we discussed it internally, fine-tune it a little bit more, and then go to them next week and try to have some finality to that.
Okay, well, it was kind of a two-part question. How realistic, based on some of the expectations that from the discussions the ministry, you guys would have had with the cruise lines, that some of what they're asking for would literally be implemented? Because, and just using that suggestion as an example, how realistic can we say that if it's 10 recommendations were put forward, how realistic are the 10 recommendations going to be taken seriously to be implemented, seeing that the sector is being rebuilt? And my second question has to do more specifically with, there has been complaints from tour operators, taxi operators, about balancing between their business as well as the government tour taxi operators. How is that working out now, seeing that there's a limited capacity coming on some of the ships that's berthing in St. Kitts currently?
I'm not following that. How is this? I'm not following that. Okay,
so a lot of the, I don't know if it's still being implemented, but the taxi operators, tour operators are complaining that they compete with the government taxis basically in order to get business currently. So how is that? Is that still happening currently in terms of tours? Is that still happening, or it's not on the books at the moment?
I think I'll let the C answer that, because I'm not certain what government taxes you're speaking of.
There are no government taxis. The St. Kitts Tourism Authority does operate at this point in time the dispatching for tours, which is the panoramic tour and the island tour at Port Zante, and we have specific times, and all taxi and tour operators that are in the rotation, they have a rotation number, they're allowed to be dispatched. I think what the issue you may be asking are those persons who are doing pre-booked tours online, and those are what Minister Grant is speaking to, where we just had a meeting with them this morning, because we have to speak to an issue of compliance and monitoring. As I said before, the cruise lines and their Shorex partners here on island, are doing that with having tour guides. So maybe that is where, but it's not a competition. This is a phased approach. Initially, we said we would offer independent tours, and every tour operator previously was a taxi operator, and they're allowed to go in the rotation line. So yes, they may not be operating their pre-booked online tours at this time, but as Minister Grant says, it's a phased approach, and we're in that second phase of trying to work with the online pre-booked tour operators.
And then just to answer the second part of your question, I think you say how realistic are some of the protocols that the cruise lines are expecting. What I wish to say to you is that the protocols, the majority of the protocols came from the St. Kitts Tourism Authority and the St. Kitts, the Ministry of Tourism. We presented them our protocols. They looked at our protocols and they refined them as they saw fit in conjunction with us and in conjunction with negotiation. I think the only, using a word, the only onerous one, let's say, has come quite recently, which you are suggesting is the 24-hour testing prior to the arrival. That's the only one that really came from them that, is basically a challenge for us. However, having discussed this morning with the stakeholders, we are finding a way, not around it, but at least to make it viable for them and for the cruise lines, which hopefully by next week we'll be able to get that under control.
Good morning, Lasha Dixon, St. Kitts Nevis Observer. Prior to the pandemic, St. Kitts and Nevis was one of the highest ranked countries in cruise passenger spend in the Caribbean. My question is, what has visitor spend been like for the cruise passengers that have arrived here since the industry was reopened? And also, can we get an idea of how many tour operators were engaged in when the ships were here in the past few weeks?
Okay. What I would say to you, when we gave the numbers in terms of the cruise passengers spend, that was out of the Bray report. And the Bray report comes every 3 years or 2 years. Every 2 years, the Bray report comes. There has not been a Bray report since the last one that I gave those figures on. And so we can't say what the spend is resulting from those last couple of ships. Obviously, we'll get that in the subsequent months. So that I can't say for sure. The other portion of the question I'll put to the CEO.
In terms of spend, it's really too early to say. As Minister spoke to the Brea study, it should have been done last year. There will be one done next year, so we'll have an idea of what is happening. But at this point in time, we can't really see. In terms of the tour operators, that would have been done back in 2018 for the Brea study. It takes into account 80% of the passengers who come off the ship. There's a number that they work with statistically that they would have surveyed what type of tours they do. St. Kitts and Nevis has the highest, one of the highest spends specifically for tours. It's not retail, it's not restaurants. When you look at other destinations, if you were to go on the FCC website and you looked on the Brea study, you can see where the money is going specifically. So for us specifically, it is tours, and our tour operators are 100% locally owned.
We do understand the need to be cautious in reopening the industry. But there is a segment that seems to be not mentioned, and that is the persons involved in water sports. We have not heard much about their situation and whatever discussions that we may have with them. Can you enlighten us about what's happening on the marine side of the tourism operation?
I'll leave that to the CEO, who is more versed in that than I am.
Our tour operators for water sports, most of them are open. However, they are structured to work at the South Friars Beach. So catamarans are open. We have a tour approved at this point in time for the Nevis. There's a tour that's been approved that anchors at Lime Beach Bar. We have our water sports, which is the mini speedboats, we have the jet skis, we have kayaking, so we have snorkeling. The only thing that we haven't really done yet is scuba diving or anything to do with specifically going very deep underwater, but most of our water sports operators are open in terms of those. We haven't approved parasailing yet, but most of the water sports operators that would be operating from Frigate Bay Beach or Cockershell, the beach that has been designated is South Friars, and that's where they're operating from.
Moving away from cruise tourism, how does the announcement last week of 24-hour quarantine for fully vaccinated passengers if they test negative, how does that prospect for passenger traveling to St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, I think it augurs well for us. You won't see the results right away, because obviously you're going to see the results 60 to 90 days down the road, because obviously persons would have positioned their travel already. So we are hopeful that come early 2022, we might see the fruits bearing as a consequence of that adjustment in the quarantine period.
Just one final question, two parts. The feedback from both the cruise line that came as well as the airlines in terms of the reduction in quarantine time?
Well, as I said, for the airlines, they welcomed it because obviously the 14-day and the 4-day quarantine is a hindrance on travel. So they welcomed the shift in the quarantine period down to 24 hours. Still, of course, we would like it to be zero, to be nothing. But as we said, it's a phased approach, and so we welcome even the 24-hour quarantine period. For the cruise lines, it doesn't matter as much. I think what mattered for the cruise lines was our ability to not only now accept the RT-PCR test, but also the antigen test. I think the antigen test for us was a game changer, which we've now introduced and have given the cruise lines the ability to be more competitive in coming to St. Kitts.
The 2021-22 tourism season, specifically in relation to the land-based tourism operation, what are the expectations in relation to hotel occupancy, and how are we going to manage the tour operations from these land-based properties? Secondly, how much of an input over the next 3 to 6 months will the British Airways flight pump into the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis in terms of visitors?
Hotel occupancy 2021. That's 2021-22. I guess the jury is still out. That is something we are working assiduously on to try to build back that also. We've now started, and the CEO could correct me, we've now started some campaigns, and so I'll turn it over her to tell you what campaigns we've started to make sure we are back in the forefront of the US. Just last week, while I was at C-Trade, I did a number of interviews with TV stations in South Florida to put St. Kitts back on the map. Those will run for, I think, another month. For another month to just put our name back out there, basically indicating to them that St. Kitts and Nevis, we are now open back for business. Our protocols have changed. It's easy to come, and so that people could start thinking about vacationing back here. In terms of the British Airways aspect, I'd ask the CEO to deal with that matter.
As it speaks to our campaigns, we'll actually start tomorrow our winter campaign for the 21-22 season. It really is to push travel starting from November 1st straight through to April. We have offers with currently what we call our vacation in place hotels, meaning that hotels that have been approved for travelers. As it speaks to the Canada and the UK market, we also have had a sale running for the Canadian market, but we saw that the 4-day quarantine was actually creating a negative impact. We just were not getting the bookings. Now with the 4-day quarantine, as ministers removed, the 4-day quarantine removed, we hope that we will see the bookings coming forward for January onwards. Persons that are making plans for Christmas, they already started to make them, and we wanted to be in the forefront from as early as September. But the 4-day quarantine does create a problem for us because there were other destinations that for fully vaccinated, you didn't have to do 4-day quarantine. For the British market, what we see right now is just very small movement, and it coincides with what we saw specifically for the US market, meaning that we'd have returning nationals or visiting friends and families. And the reason is The hotels that actually move the UK market for us in terms of our price point are Timothy Beach and Owali, and we're still in the process of having those properties become vacation in place. So it's a transition. And so we do have a campaign currently in market right now for the UK. It's the Winter Sun Sale, and we will have one for January. So for us, in terms of reopening the sector, yes, we started last year, but in terms of promoting the destination in every source market, we do have a promotion taking place. But in terms of the takeoff for December, persons already, you can see they've already started to make their plans. So we're looking more forward, as Minister said, from January onwards. So, members of the media and those who are listening and watching online, we thank you for your time. We do know that ZIZ will be doing a rebroadcast of this for us on radio and TV, and the times will be announced. But thank you very much for your time, everyone, this morning.
But me don't think it's bad.
Be St. Kitts strong and mask up.
I wear my mask to protect my beloved citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I invite you to do so too.
Show your love for St. Kitts Nevis and wear a mask.
Keep St. Kitts strong and mask up when you step.
I wear a face mask for all the nurses, doctors, and other medical workers who are on the front line.
Do the right thing and wear a mask.
Show the world that we are St. Kitts strong and wear a mask.
I wear a mask so that St. Kitts Nevis remains a safe and healthy destination for me, for you, and our visitors alike.
Say St. Kitts sweet. Me no know about you, but me love St. Kitts bad.
Welcome back to St. Kitts. The health and safety of both our residents and our visitors remains our #1 priority. Please ensure that you put on your face. Stay in your lane. Practice social distancing. Hanitize. Wash or sanitize your hands every 30 minutes. And follow established health and safety protocols on all island tours. Report COVID-19 symptoms to any government official or your hotel manager. You can call the emergency health hotline at 311. We look forward to welcoming familiar faces and to introducing St. Kitts to those who may not have visited before.
The rebuilding of tourism starts with taking the vaccine. I'm taking the vaccine for a healthy nation.
I for sure will be taking the vaccine.
I am taking the vaccine because it's the best way to get back into full swing. Stay safe.
I've taken the vaccine for my family, for my friends, for my community, and for me.
Me no know about you, but me don't think it's bad.
Be St. Kitts strong and mask up.
I wear my mask to protect my beloved citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I invite you to do so too.
Show your love for St. Kitts Nevis and wear a mask.
Keep St. Kitts strong and mask up when you step out.
I wear a face mask for all the nurses, doctors, and other medical workers who are on the front line.
Do the right thing and wear a mask.
Show the world that we are St. Kitts strong and wear a mask.
I wear a mask so that St. Kitts Nevis remains a safe and healthy destination for me, for you, and our visitors alike.
Say St. Kitts sweet. Me no know